Hello and welcome to IP Study Video Lectures. Today we will discuss Chapter 7 of Grade 7. The chapter name is The Gupta Era, an Age of Tireless Creativity. In this chapter, we will discuss these topics. First, who were the Guptas? Then, extent of the Gupta Empire, rulers of the Gupta Empire, then their administration, their economic life, their cultural life, scientific achievements, remarkable figures, decline of the Guptas, other flourishing kingdoms and legacy of the Gupta era. The period from 4th to 6th century CE is often referred to as the Golden Age of ancient India. Following the decline of the Kushanas, the Gupta Empire rose prominence, leading to the era with remarkable prosperity, their cultural growth, their intellectual growth, the governance. There's so many achievements. Because of it, it's called the Golden Age of ancient India. Other kingdoms such as Vakatakas in central India, then Kumarupa kingdom in eastern region and Pallava kingdom in southern region. First, we will discuss who were the Guptas. Guptas were originally a family of local chiefs who gradually rose to power in Ganga Valley. The origin of the Guptas in the region of present-day Uttar Pradesh, probably near Prayag, that is also known as Prayagraj. They were not known for the royal lineage, but also for their political skills, for their military powers, for administrative abilities. They established one of the greatest empire in the history. Guptas were the followers of Hinduism, but as well as they follow Buddhism and Jainism. That means they accept the religious harmony. This inclusive approach helped them to gain support from diverse communities across the empire. Next, the dynasty became modestly but through strategic. For example, their strategy is to marriage, diplomacy. They gradually expand their territory and influence through their marriage and diplomacy. Now come to the extent of the Gupta Empire. Gupta Empire at its peak during the reign of Chandragupta II was one of the largest empire in ancient India. We will discuss about it later about the Chandragupta II. But first we will discuss the approximate boundaries of Gupta Empire. Here are the approximate boundary in the Indian subcontinent of Gupta Empire. And the capital, Patliputra, was the capital of Gupta Empire. And here are some major regions, as you have seen: Ujjaini, Indraprasth, Mathura, and so on. Now, first we will discuss about the sources of information of Gupta Empire. So there were number of sources that from that we know about the Gupta Empire. For example, Prashastis, coins, then literary sources and archaeological sources. We will discuss them one by one. First, we will discuss Prashastis. What are Prashastis or inscriptions? These poetic compositions written in praise of ruler provide the most detailed information about the Gupta conquest and their territorial extent. The most famous and informative is the Prayag Prashasti. Prayag Prashasti was important in history and today also. It is a pillar inscription of Samudragupta in Prayagraj, composed by the court poet Hari Sen. This Prashasti described Samudragupta's military campaigns in great detail, listing the name of conquered kingdoms, tributary states, and so many things. It divides the conquered territories into different categories, such as kingdom that were directly annexed and those that were defeated but allowed to continue as its tributaries, forest region that were brought under the control. So Prayag Prashasti is very important source in history. Then come to the coins. Coins were important to know about the trade, to know about the boundaries of the direct Gupta control. Next, we have the literary sources. Contemporary Sanskrit literature, the account of foreign traveler, provide valuable insight into the boundaries and administration of the empire. Works like Purans contain refers to Gupta territories. The court literature described various regions under the imperial control. Here is the contemporary Sanskrit literature written in Brahmi script. Next, archaeological evidences. As you already know, archaeological evidences such as temples, sculptures, seals, pottery found across different regions helped establish the geographical spread of Gupta culture and political influence. Now come to the next topic, that is the rulers of the Gupta Empire. So who founded the Gupta Empire? Shri Gupta. Shri Gupta founded the Gupta Empire in the late 3rd century CE. After that, Chandragupta I, the grandson of Shri Gupta, laid the foundation of imperial expansion of Gupta Empire through strategic marriage alliance with Lichavi princess Kumaradevi. The Lichavi were a powerful clan, and this marriage brought Chandragupta both political support as well as territorial gains. He assumed the titles like Maharajadhiraja, Samrat, Chakravartin, many more titles to show his power, marking the beginning of Gupta imperial ambitions. Chandragupta I established Patliputra as his capital. That is very important. Laid the foundation for the future Gupta expansion. Next, we have Samudragupta. Samudragupta during the time period of 335 to 375 CE. Samudragupta, son of Chandragupta I, was the greatest conqueror among the Gupta rulers. He was the warrior king known for his military brilliance and extensive conquest. One of the most important source of information about his reign is Prayag Prashasti, as we have already discussed about Prayag Prashasti, in which so many details about the Samudragupta Maurya already found. Prayag Prashasti, a pillar inscription in Prayagraj composed by the court poet Hari Sen. This inscription praises Samudragupta's achievements and describes his ambition as becoming Dharani Bandha. According to Prayagraj pillar, Allahabad inscription, Samudragupta conducted various of campaigns. First, Aryavarta campaign. It means he conquered and directly annexed several kingdoms in the Ganges Valley. Then, Dakshinpath campaign in the South India, he followed a different strategy. He defeated 12 rulers but restored their power or restored their kingdom to them as they acknowledged his supremacy and paid tribute to Samudragupta. Next, forest kingdoms, he subdued various tribal chiefs and forest rulers. Next, border territories, he received tribute and homage from the rulers of border region. Samudragupta was not only a powerful conqueror but also a patron of arts and learning. He was talented poet and musician, famously depicted on coins playing the veena. Here are the coins in which Samudragupta playing veena. A coin showing King Samudragupta playing veena left and Goddess Lakshmi on right. Next, a coin of Samudragupta's depicting a horse sacrifice of Ashwamedha Yajna and the queen holding a chauri on right. Next, we have Chandragupta II, in which the great achievement, or you can say the golden age of Gupta Empire flourished. Chandragupta II, also known as Chandragupta Vikramaditya, was perhaps the most famous and accomplished ruler of Gupta dynasty. His reign from approximately 375 to 415 CE represent the pinnacle of Gupta power. Next, it is also known as the Golden Age. Its time period is also known as the Golden Age. Here is the coin showing the King Chandragupta II. Next, the most significant military achievement of Chandragupta II was the conquest of Western Kshatrapas a powerful dynasty which had control to western region of India for several centuries. Next, this conquest was significant because it provided the Guptas with direct access to Arabian Sea and control over the western trade routes also. That connected India with the Roman Empire and other western lands. Next, Chandragupta II was not merely a successful conqueror but also one of the history's greatest patron of art and learning. His court became the center of intellectual and cultural activities. Chandragupta Vikramaditya is remembered for his strong patronage of art and learning. His court became a renowned center of poets, scholars, mathematicians, and artists. Many great minds are believed to have flourished during his reign, reflecting the cultural richness of this period. Here is the list of Navratnas of the Gupta Empire. These Navratnas were in the court of the Chandragupta II. Here are the list of 9 gems or Navratnas of Gupta Empire. First, Kalidasa, Amarsimha, Varhamira, Dhanvantri, Shapanaka, Vararuchi, Vetalabhatta, Ghatakapar, and Shanku. So, different Navratnas mainly focused on different things, or you can say work on different things. The reign of Chandragupta II is universally regarded as the golden age of Sanskrit literature and arts. During this period, literature reached new heights of sophistication and beauty, with poets and playwrights crafting works that have become timeless classics. Architecture and sculpture also flourished, with the distinctive Gupta style setting standards that influence Indian art for centuries to come. Next, we have the administration of Gupta Empire. The Gupta administration was remarkably well organized and efficient, representing one of the most sophisticated governmental systems in ancient India. The Guptas successfully combined strong central authority with meaningful local autonomy, creating a balanced administrative structure that could effectively govern their vast empire while maintaining flexibility and responsiveness to local needs. Next, the Gupta exercised different level of control over various regions within their empire, while they maintained direct administrative control over the core areas, particularly the fertile Ganges Valley, which formed the economic and political heart of their domain. They adopted a more flexible approach toward peripheral territories. Next, we have the central administration. At the apex of the Gupta administrative system took the king, who was regarded as a supreme authority and was believed to possess divine qualities by his subjects. The concept of royal divinity was balanced with practical governance, as the king was assisted by well-structured council ministers who helped him in decision-making and administration. Now come to the next topic, provincial administration. Here is the diagram, you can say, of central administration, provincial administration and local administration. In central administration, king and the council of ministers came. Provincial administration, there is bhuktis and uparikas, and as well as Vishyapatis. Next, in local administration, the village headman and city administration. As you can already see, the systematically divided provincial administration systematically divided into the large administrative units called bhuktis, and then provisions governed by the officials known as uparikas. Now come to the local administration. The local administration, the Gupta system demonstrated remarkable wisdoms in recognizing the importance of local governance. At the grassroots level, villages like grams were administered by the village headmen, who were familiar with the local conditions and customs. towns and cities called nagaras had their own administrative councils that were managed by the urban affairs, including trade regulation, public works, local justice, etc. Next, this approach will allow for substantial local self-governance, not only reduce the administrative burden on the central administration, but also helped in maintaining stability and efficiency across the empire's diverse region and communities. Now come to the economic life of Gupta Empire. First, we will discuss about the trade. There are two types of trade, internal trade and external trade. In internal trade, major cities like Patliputra, Ujjain, Mathura, Kannauj connected by the roads and rivers. The use of standard coins and peaceful empire helped merchants trade goods such as textile, metal items and pottery. Foreign trade or external trade also expanded. India exported spices, fine fabrics, ivory and precious stone to places such as Rome, South Asia, China, while importing gold, silver and other goods. Trade was carried out through both land routes such as Silk Road and sea route across the Indian Ocean. Here is the next, agriculture. Agriculture was the backbone of the Gupta economy. The fertile Ganges Valley provided abundant harvest that supported the empire's prosperity. New areas were bought under cultivation through land grants to Brahmins and temples. Improved irrigation techniques, including the use of wells and tanks, increased agricultural productivity. Then we will discuss about the crafts and guilds. Crafts such as weaving, metallurgy, pottery were flourishing. Artisans worked in guilds that ensured quality, protected members, even acted like banks by lending money and supported trade ventures throughout the empire. Now come to the cultural life of Gupta Empire. First, we will discuss about the architecture. Gupta architecture represents a perfect blend of earlier tradition with new innovations. The period saw a shift from rock-cut caves to freestanding structural temple. Temple architecture. The Gupta developed the classical Indian temple form characterized by a square sanctum, a pillared hall and decorated tower that called shikhar. Famous examples included here are Dashavatar temple in Deoghar, Kankali Devi temple in Tigwa and Parvati temple in Nachna Kutara. Next is cave architecture. Cave architecture flourished under the Guptas. Especially the religious hues, caves were carved into rocky hillside, serving as temples, monasteries and meditation hall. Famous examples include Ajanta caves and Udaygiri caves. Udaygiri caves are the oldest rock-cut architecture. Next is Buddhist architecture. The Gupta, as you already know, they were very, you can say, inclusive in terms of religion. The Gupta era continued and refined Buddhist architecture, especially in form of stupas, dome-shaped structures, viharas, chaityas. Famous examples included ruins of Nalanda, Mahavira, then Sarnath and Chaitya of Ajanta caves. The architectural style developed during the Gupta period formed the foundation of temple construction in later centuries. Their blend of spiritual purpose and artistic beauty continues to influence Indian architecture of this day. Next, we will discuss about the literature and art. The Gupta period is often referred as golden age of Sanskrit literature because Kalidasa, the greatest Sanskrit poet, created masterpieces like Abhijanan Shakuntalam, Meghdut and other notable writers including Bharavi, Bhartrihari, Amrasimha, who compiled the famous Sanskrit dictionary Amarkosha. Next, about art. Gupta art achieved classical perfection with ideal proportions, graceful forms, and scenic expressions. The famous Gupta style of Buddha sculptures, specially from centers like Sarnath, set the standard of centuries across Asia. Next, paintings at the Ajanta caves in the present Maharashtra reached new heights of artistic excellence, showcasing advanced techniques and rich storytelling. Here is the standing Buddhas, Krishna killing the horse demon Keshi, and Varaha sculpture Iran. Next, the religious practices during the time period of Gupta Empire. The Gupta rulers were devoted to worship of gods like Vishnu. Their coin and inscription often had image of Vishnu or symbol related to him. However, even though they followed these traditions, they also respected other beliefs. They supported Buddhist monasteries and important learning centers like Nalanda University. They also helped Jain institutions. As a result, people of different faiths coexisted peacefully. This religious tolerance helped art, learning, and culture grow during the Gupta period. Now come to the scientific achievements. Medical science made significant progress during the Gupta period. Important Ayurvedic texts such as Chakra Samhita and Sushruta Samhita, which were composed earlier, were compiled and widely studied during this period. These texts contain detailed knowledge about the disease, treatments, surgeries, the role of diet and hygiene. Hospitals were also set up where people received adequate medical care. Next, Gupta scientists made important advances in chemical knowledge and processes, as well as Gupta astronomers made remarkable discoveries about celestial movements. Next, the Gupta period saw revolutionary advances in mathematics. So you can say there is a number of achievements in terms of science, in terms of art, in terms of literature. Gupta went to the new heights. That is why this period is known as the golden age of ancient India. Here is the remarkable figures like Aryabhatta and Kalidasa. About Aryabhatta, one of the greatest mathematician and astronomer in the history, and Kalidasa was the greatest Sanskrit poet and dramatist of the Gupta Golden Age. Then Varahamira. Varahamira was the renowned polymath of the Gupta era, excelling in astronomy, mathematics, astrology, and more. Next, the decline of the Guptas. Why Guptas decline after so many achievements? The mighty Gupta Empire, which had dominated North India for over 2 centuries, began to face a serious threats during the reign of Skandagupta in the mid of 5th century CE. Although he managed to resist the initial invasions, the empire's resources were heavily strained. His weaker successors could not withstand the continued attack and rising internal dissent. A combination of external invasion and internal challenges gradually weakened the empire and leading to the eventual collapse by the mid-6th century CE. Here is the external invasion, and then we will discuss about the internal factors. First, external invasions. One of the most damaging blows of the empire came from the Huna invasion. The Hunas, under the leader of Toraman and his son Mihirakula, launched fierce attack on the northwestern borders of the empire. In addition to the Hunas, other groups from the northwest also possessed threats and contributing to the loss of important territories. The empire gradually lost control over its western and northern region, which weakened its political and economic influence. Now come to the internal factors. Later rulers like Kumargupta I and Skandagupta faced growing internal challenges and external invasions, especially from Hunas. Alongside these threats, weak leadership and decline of central authority led to administrative strain as provisional governors and local leaders began asserting independence, further contributing to the disintegration of the Gupta Empire. Next, we will discuss about the other flourishing kingdom. After the decline of Gupta Empire, other flourishing kingdoms came into the power, the Pallavas and Kumarupa kingdom. The Pallavas emerged as a major power in South India, establishing its capital at Kachipuram in the present-day Tamil Nadu, under notable rulers such as Simhavishnu, who established Pallava dominance, Mahendravarman I, a great patron of art and literature, Narasimhavarman I, who successfully defeated the powerful Chalukyas. The Pallavas built a strong and culturally rich kingdom. Next, the Pallavas were a remarkable contribution to Indian civilization, particularly in architecture and cultural development. The famous rock-cut temple and carved raths, chariot temples, which represent the masterpiece of ancient Indian architecture. The Pallavas were also instrumental in the development of Tamil and Sanskrit literature. Next, their architectural style and cultural achievement have influenced South Indian civilization for centuries, establishing artistic traditions that continue to inspire modern India. Here is Kamarupa kingdom during the time period of 4th to 12th century CE. The Kamarupa kingdom flourished in present-day Assam and parts of Bengal, with its capital at modern-day Guwahati, founded by Pushyavarman of the Varman dynasty. The kingdom reached prominence under the ruler like Bakshavarman, who was contemporary of Emperor Harsha and participated in his famous assembly at Kannauj. Kamarupa played a crucial role in developing distinct cultural identity of northeastern India. The kingdom became an important center of Buddhist learning while also fostering the growth of Hinduism blended with local traditions. The rulers of Kumarupa maintained efficient local administration and controlled important trade routes, connecting India with Southeast Asia. Now come to the legacy of the Gupta Empire. The Gupta Empire, or you can say Gupta period, set classical benchmarks in art, literature, architecture that shaped Indian civilization for over thousands of years. Their innovation in mathematics, especially the decimal system and zero, transformed global science. The Gupta administrative model of central authority with local autonomy influenced later Indian kingdoms. Scientific advancement in astronomy, in medicine, in technology spread globally through trade and cultural exchange. Their religious tolerance fostered harmony among traditions, while their artistic style in sculpture, temple architecture became the Indian ideal. Gupta culture also deeply influenced Southeast Asia through trade and cultural mission. Their enduring legacy of learning, creativity, governance, and continue to inspire modern India's culture and educational values. In this chapter, we had discussed about the Gupta era, about their creativity, about the learning, and their achievements in culture, in science, art, architecture, as well as in literature we applied today. These are the things we should apply in today's world also. For example, religious harmony we have seen in this chapter. This is all for today. Thank you for watching.